Hi, everybody. This is Adam Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology, and these are your horoscopes for the month of March 2019. So this is the Sun and Rising Sign horoscopes for Capricorn. All right, I'm going to put your chart up on the screen where you can see it. Let me just get that. Whoops, where's my share button? Here we go. Okie dokie. All right, you should be able to see the, get that out of the way. All right, so the month starts off with a pretty intense, powerful moment. Venus at the very last, oops, we're on March 2nd. I'm all kinds of goofed up. All right, let's go back one day. All right, now we got it. All right, month starts off with Venus and Capricorn in your home sign, first house, making a square to Uranus in Aries in your fourth house. This is a big deal because you've got the planet of harmony, friendship, agreement, love, beauty, squaring Uranus in the fourth house of home, family, and roots, a planet that is related to disruption, challenge to the status quo, individuality and individuation, independence. So the potential for things to be a little bit unpredictable or a little wild or erratic around relationships and domestic matters to start the month is pretty strong. So I would watch for that. But also the potential for some real creative, innovative, original thinking, and maybe something, I mean, whether it's fashion or beauty or art or experimentation and love or sort of sexuality, it just has a flair. It could be disruptive and could easily be, if you're on the rocks in your relationship, like watch for this transit to start the month, but I think it could be quite original and creative as well. So that's a powerful moment right out the gate, right? But then on March 6th, you can see that there's another really powerful moment, which is a new moon conjoined with Neptune in your third house, with Mercury about to turn retrograde in your third house. This month, in other words, has a real focus on third house matters. It's a house that's related to the mind. It's related to how we gather and group and weave together the impressions in the world around us and try to create meaning out of those things. So your perceptions, communication, your mind, you may not be seeing things entirely clearly this month, or you may start to, with a new moon and conjoined with Neptune, you may start to see things in a new light, or you may start to see things beyond your normal way of looking at things. Has the potential to have kind of a mystical awakening feeling to it, this new moon. But I would be careful also of fuzzy, hazy, delusional, kind of wishy-washy thinking along the way. Potential to be a little intoxicated and to follow our whims rather than being real clear and somewhat more intelligent about how we choose among things and sort through things to perceive what's the truth and what's false here. You have to be very careful, in other words, to keep that balance intact this month with Mercury retrograde in its fall, with Neptune on the other hand, again, non-ordinary states of consciousness, synchronicities, fascination with fantasy, sci-fi, imagination of the mind is also, I think, really nice potential for the month ahead. So, but a month that's really focused on those kinds of issues could also bring up the topic of siblings in the third house, or neighbors, or domestic things that you are kind of bound to in your everyday life. So watch for that. Sometimes short journeys or journeys to see family members come up in the third house. And then when you go to same day, you're going to see the planet Uranus. I'll actually move this ahead to the 7th so that you can actually see it enter, because it hasn't entered by this time yet. But you'll see Uranus on the 6th enter Taurus and move into your 5th house. Now, the 5th house is called the joy of Venus in the house of good fortune. It literally, the 5th house brings good things, usually very joyful and happy things, sometimes hedonistic things. So when the planet of rebellion is entering the 5th house, don't be surprised if you're feeling the need to go out and, claim some joy or claim some fun. Just be careful that you do it in a healthy way. But Uranus in the 5th can also indicate a creative renaissance. 5th house related to creativity, the arts, performance, sports. So some kind of boundary breaking or progressive take on, on dance, or, taking in a uh, avant-garde performance of some kind. It just has that feeling of creative renaissance to it. And this is something, these things that I'm talking about with Uranus in the fifth could be going on for quite some time. Also, if you have kids, or, if you're pregnant, here's the planet of disruption, upheaval, unexpected events, and again, revolution entering the fifth house of kids. Don't be surprised if your kids are a little, if you're starting to deal with themes of your kids individuating, becoming a little bit more rebellious. Par for the course. It's going to be in your fifth house for a while. Be careful not to try to, trying to control. Be careful of that, because the Uranus in the fifth is often not good at controlling, being overly rigid. It will reject that. So then between the 14th and the 19th, really, we're going crazy. There we go. So between the 14th and the 19th, Mars and Taurus in the fifth house will be making trines to Saturn and Pluto in the first. And this is pretty interesting, because I would call this a bit of a pressure cooker, but the trine is positive. So Mars trine to Saturn and then trine to Pluto, you generally think of, Mars, Saturn, very hard work and can really get stuff done. You think of Mars trine Pluto, and you think of depth, intensity, focus, drive, power, strength, in intensifying. And the trine, it brings good things. It generates things. It builds something bigger. So you think of this as a very productive time, potentially a time, again, where maybe a little bit of sort of hedonistic willfulness, like I'm really feeling like I need to party, and I'm, kind of like, you think about this combination and its kind of base image. You think of people like, shotgunning beers at a metal concert, but you think of it in maybe, no offense if that's you, but if you think about it in a little more elevated sense, you get the picture of creative, a labor of love, and also a time where you're learning to harness desires and shape them and direct them towards productive results. So I like this as a productive time. Has the potential to be a little bit of again, like a willful, over the top, kind of angsty period. But hopefully, and with Uranus in the mix too in the fifth house, could be, you could really be shaking your fist, so to speak. But I think this transit could also be very productive. So that happens between the 14th and the 19th. And then you'll see on the 20th, pretty big event, which is happening, which is the entry of the sun into Aries in your fourth house in Chiron. And I'm going to move this ahead a little bit so you can see what it looks like. It comes in the 20th, 21st. The full moon will be in Libra in your 10th house of career, while sun conjoins Aries in the fourth house of home, family, roots. Chiron, the wounded healer, this is a powerful moment of awakening, illumination, initiation, and I think the visiting of wounds, or the healing of wounds, the development of greater wisdom around things related to your roots, your home, maybe your father in particular. But then the moon in the 10th suggests balance, beauty, good justice in the workplace. So there's a kind of work-home dynamic that's real strong right around the spring equinox. See a culmination of events around that time related to those areas. And then at the same exact time, Mars and Venus are in a square. This could have something to do with financial and professional matters, as Venus, the ruler of your career house, is in the second house of money and finances, making a square to Mars just after it's finished that real productive run with Saturn and Pluto. So I like the potential here for some kind of a moment of dynamic tension that maybe brings the results, some kind of positive results, maybe that deliver in terms of money or finances. The other possibility, to be honest, could be that there is some kind of an expense that comes up. But just see how things are going as the month goes on. And I think you watch for that period of like from the 19th through like the 21st, Mars finishes, and then it's spring equinox, full moon, Venus square Mars from your financial house. So keep an eye on that one. Tell me what happens. I'd love to hear from you guys. Then the 24th through the 29th, crazy little period here with Mercury and Neptune, going back to those themes of the mind and truth and illusion and other worldly, non-ordinary states of consciousness, potentially the topic of siblings again, or neighbors, or something, communicating something, speaking something, maybe even the subjects of technology, different things to think about. But it's a month of the mind, and some kind of shift in the mind that's happening, I think. So at any rate, that's what I've got for you, Capricorn. I hope this was interesting. I'm heading to India. I'll be back in March, so I'm putting these out a little bit early. But I hope you have a great month, and I will see you again for April's horoscopes. Okay, take care.